All right, peace. Thank you for tuning in to Moors in America. All right, we haven't gone live in a while, but going to share something with you. The author T. Matheno Matthews L. shared something with you, a message for everybody. So make sure that you click like and share this video, okay? And just stay tuned. We're about to get started. All right. So once again, thank everybody for tuning in, okay? And we'll be getting started shortly. But first and foremost, we're going to give honors. Much praise to the Most High, Father God Allah, Father of the universe. We want to give honors to our Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, for bringing us our divine creed and nationality so that we may learn to love instead of hate. We want to give honors to the forerunner, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, for preparing the way for our Prophet. We always give honors to all the faithful Moors out there all over the world. So that's honors to you for tuning in, honors to you for sharing and liking this video, helping to spread the information. We give honors to everyone regardless of what temple or the organization or no organization, regardless of your ideologies. We give honors to all of you out there. Honors to the Supreme Grand Council, the Moorish Science Temple of America, all faithful members. And make sure you click and like and share while you're watching this video. Okay, so we will be getting started really soon. I was just letting some more people come on in. The videos you see up on the screen are from this channel. So if you haven't already subscribed, make sure that you subscribe to this channel and check out the other videos on here, and of course make sure that you share them as well. Okay? And well, without further ado, we will be getting started. This video is entitled Critical Conditions, and this is from the author T. Matheno Matthews L. He wrote the book the Moorish America's Archival Palladium, and also I believe the title of the other one is Light of Ali. I have both of those books, so I definitely recommend everybody to check those out as well. And thanks for tuning in. We're going to go ahead and get started right now. Okay? So, thank you. Peace. Peace. Islam. Coming at you live from Moors in America. We cover issues pertinent to Moorish Americans from our perspective. Something that's very rare that you're not really going to see anywhere else. And I'm just coming at you to share a quick video from the brother T. Matheno Matthews L. He wrote a book which I recommend right here. Right, Moorish America's Archival Palladium. You can get the link in the description. Definitely check that out. Try to maintain some integrity and only recommend books that I've actually written or information that I actually think is helpful. That's why I advise everybody to actually get a copy of the the Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, otherwise known as the Circle 7 Quran. Always advise everybody to get the Divine Constitution and Bylaws, and also the one-on-ones, right? Or the Quran questions. So definitely check this video out, because this brother's been the Moorish Divine and National Movement for decades. Okay, so a lot of wisdom in there, and it's always a pleasure when someone with that much experience and wisdom is willing and open enough to share with us. Okay, so I'm just saying this just to put things in the proper perspective. Okay, so when the brother's speaking, listen. And if, you know, even if you don't agree with the information, just take it in stride and maybe even self-examine yourself, because some of us have been dealing with information that's faulty, that's not exactly what you think it is. Okay, and there's even people out here who are very well respected, who've been teaching information and putting information out there that's not actually in alignment with the Moorish Divine and National Movement as brought forth by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So once again, every Moor should get a copy of that book, and every Moor should watch this video and share. And if you go back and peruse through here, there's other videos too by the same brother, um, Matthew Zell. So go back, check those out too. Plenty of wisdom in it. And I'd say check every last one of them out. Click like and share. Just spread it, okay? Because it's time. The Moors are waking up, and you need to know the foundation. You need to know what is really real. So I think it's very important. And that's why I'm here, and that's why this brother's here and sharing with us. And that's why I'm saying, don't just watch this, also share it, because it's not good enough just for a handful of us to know. We all need to know this information and share it and live on it. Okay, stand on it. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So make sure you watch this and share. Peace.
Islam, a little reflecting this morning, thinking back to the early 70s. And I'm not sure if it was on a Friday or a Saturday. I don't recall. It was so long ago. But I turned on the television. It was a black and white set with the rabbit ears and all that, way back then. And this picture came in clear. And it was a picture of the Nation of Islam and some event. I don't know if it was their Savior's Day, but the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was still alive. And he spoke. And I was transfixed to the television for various reasons. And primarily because I had never seen our people at a gathering like that. Not seen folks in church, but it wouldn't be, 50 or 100 at the most. But these were Asiatics, and they were in a great convention hall of some type, filled to capacity. And on one side, the brothers were set in black suits, and on the other side, the sisters were set in white dresses. And it was disciplined, and it was powerful. And it was then that I really began to study some of the Black Muslim theology, and it led to studying history and all type of things. It didn't really resonate with me as well. I learned a lot from it. But when I was introduced to Prophet Drew Ali, I was prepared for that. Islam, and it's been a blessing, immeasurable blessing ever since. The Prophet inspired in me to study, and that's what I would do. Like many of our brothers, or most of us, I had a horrible experience in the public school system. I felt as though the forces working within the system were doing more to diseducate me or distance me from education than anything. It was almost as if in some people it was just inherent in them to do all that they could possibly do to make me fail. So like a lot of brothers, I quit, but I never stopped studying. I believe I quit in the 10th grade because I just had enough. But I continued to study. And there were times when I went to the library, I would spend 8 hours in the library, especially during the summertime, but order books from different libraries or different colleges. And that went on for years, even into my adulthood, and I got married and I continued to study. But I thank and praise Allah for that. I really do, because it's been a tremendous blessing to me. A lot of our brothers do not study, even though they quit school, and they do not get those basic skills that have nothing to do with race or any of that. Reading, writing, mathematics, the basics. They do not get it. And I've lived long enough. I heard a lot of brothers read, and it's not good because some of them, they struggle to pronounce words, and in many instances, do not even know what the word means. And it's not an attack. I'm trying to help whoever I can help because this is critically important. If this has been going on for decades, as I've said before, when I was younger, when I was a kid, I went to an all-black school until we moved to another state. For several years, my first years of school, I went to an all-black school in the South. And when we moved north and moved to another state was my first interaction with Europeans in the school system. The difference was like night and day. Whereas in the so-called black school, most of the teachers, if not all the teachers, were our Asiatic people, looked like me and cared about you and would tell your parents or would whip your tail and tell your parents. Some of them lived in our neighborhood, knew your parents. So it was vastly different. When I began to go to an integrated school, it was like I was an outsider who did not belong. And I never felt as though I belonged. If I got in trouble in society, which happened often, you could feel the repercussions that I was going to get the maximum punishment allowable in any given situation. You were targeted. They looked at you and just waited for you to make a mistake or do something wrong. You were treated as if you were just not smart anyway. A perpetuation of this inferiority psychology. But I didn't receive it. I refused to accept it. I knew better. When I sat there and listened, and they got to talking about slavery, it's like all our people ever did was be slaves. At first, we came from the jungle, and then we were slaves, and that I just didn't accept it because I knew it couldn't be true. And eventually, along the same time, I would be studying and reading on my own, and began to get into African history and especially Egypt and West Africa, South Africa, and I knew that they weren't telling the truth. It was some made up stuff, but it was like Europeans, anything great ever done in the world, they did it. This is the way it was presented. So I'm saying this that because I believe without a shadow of a doubt that probably 75 or 85% of any brothers or sister that might hear this recording had the same experience. And by the time I could quit, I quit. I had enough of that. So what we have now, unfortunately, is a large population of our people who are crippled when it comes to so-called education. And I'm not talking about being trained. I'm talking about having the basics. If you can't read and understand what you're reading, you are crippled. You can't pick up a book or some information and have a workable understanding of what's being communicated. It'll cripple you. And I'm saying this. A lot of the posts I read, especially a lot of the brothers that are upset about this, that, and the other, it's because they really don't understand the issue. Islam, if you could read and comprehend, you wouldn't have that problem. And I believe there's a lot of frustration out here. Understand this. And rightfully so. It's not like we don't have something to be frustrated about. We've been under probably the greatest psychological and spiritual attack in history. But by the grace of Almighty God, Allah, we're still here. What's been done to us, even in recent times, and now, what's being done to our people publicly, what's being done, is unequaled in history. And we can say that some things are going on with certain people around the world, but not like this. Not like this. One of the problems is that it's not everybody. It's not all Europeans. It's just enough. It may just be 25%, but that's a lot. That's 1 out of every 4. Whatever they can do, I'm serious. You got people. Hate is hate. If you're a hater, you're a hater. I don't care what you look like. But they're united in their effort that you won't get up. One of the ways of making sure that transpires is to be sure that you don't get the tools necessary to thrive, not just survive, but to thrive. And like I said, we got to put it out there. All Europeans are not like that. But I believe a lot of Europeans rather are, well, you know what? Look, I'm not a part of that. I'm living my life. If that problem gets solved, you guys are going to have to solve it. It's not my problem. I didn't put you in slavery. That's the way, I didn't do all that. I don't discriminate. Because if that was the case, none of us would have a job or have anything. So everybody's not like that. But you can't sleep on the people that are. When you have the same thing happening or taking place in school systems all over America, where you have 70%, 80%, it's that high in some areas of so-called black males do not graduate, do not finish. So it puts you in a situation where you have to compete in a society without the tools that everyone else has. But Prophet Ali made a way for us. He set it up whereby we can do that. Because one of the first things that he instructs us to do is to study Islam. And in order to do that, you have to have a good foundation. You have to have the tools to study with. I went back eventually. I was grown. I think I might have been 23 when I got my GED. Yeah, I might have been 23. And eventually I went on to different military schools, a couple of years of college in business, and on. And I never gave up on studying because I ran across a concept that was called the School of Lifelong Learning, Islam. And I like that concept. So I've kept that concept as I continue to try to learn. Moors, if you don't have it, go back and get it. You may have to humble yourself. Sometimes that's what you have to do to get what you need. It doesn't mean allowing anybody to mistreat you. There are so many ways. I was in a dollar store or something, and they had a display there, small display. It was called getyourhighschooldiploma.com or something like that. And that store chain was pushing or promoting getting that basic education. More, you got to do that. And if you be honest with us or honest with yourself, you need it. You need it. I think in many instances, a lot of the brothers get upset and they vent. And I understand that because of the pressure and the hate and the targeting that you've had to deal with every day of your life. The Prophet Ali says, okay, I got the fix. You don't have to deal with that no more. I can show you how to get past that. He got past it. And someone will say, oh, what about when they were fighting with the Prophet? People do that. That's what people do. People disagree. But as far as being caught up in that world of discrimination and inferiority and hate and targeting, you don't have to do that. Islam, you don't have to do that. If you follow the Prophet's course of study, it'll help you come out of that. But I'm emphasizing this. Many times I go on social media and I read some of the posts, and it's obvious more that you have a difficult time reading and understanding or even express yourself. That's why people start cursing, because they don't have the words to say what they are feeling or what they are wanting to say. But Moors, we got to get past this. This is not Moorish. That's black. You just haven't learned how to be Moorish yet. That's the problem. You haven't learned yet. Moors don't hate each other. We don't attack each other. Now I know you'll see that there are some leaders out here that are inspiring division and hatred. And I don't know if that's their goal. I think they have some other motive or something else that they would like to accomplish. And this is their way of trying to get it done. But Mo, if it's not inspiring love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, Mo, it's not right. I didn't come from that. And I'm sure a lot of the Moors at my age and some younger and older, they're looking at this whole phenomena of everybody running into being Moorish. But they're also looking at, they don't act Moorish. That's not Moorish, Mo. I talked with a Moor a few days ago who was older. And it was a blessing. It was a blessing because, and right now I think we're in different groups or something. But I could feel that Moorish Islam. I could feel it. I could hear it coming through the telephone. Islam. And it's time for the older Moors and the more experienced Moors. We got to step out there and give these younger Moors and new Moors a demonstration. They have to see it. Islam, men need a pattern for their lives. They love to follow and not to lead. That's just the nature. It's easier to follow someone else. Islam, but the person we're following might be still trying to figure it out themselves. They may be still learning and growing, hopefully. But it's a critical time, so we have to get this thing right. Islam, Moors, there's people who have authority who abuse their authority, and you know that. The Prophet says we're not to go out in the public and cause confusion. We're not to violate the laws. Islam is something about a Moor. He's not like that. I was thinking back to many years ago. I don't know, over 30, let's put it there. And I was traveling on the Trailways bus, going from state to state, and I passed through Philadelphia. Well, it was probably 3 o'clock, and the next bus that I could catch was leaving the next day, probably 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock or whatever. I'm like, there's no way I want to sit here in the bus station for a day practically. I went in the phone book. I don't know whether it was an ill or a bay, but I looked up one of them and called. Islam Moor. I got in touch with what was called then the Moorish Red Crescent. So that's all I knew. And they demonstrated red crescents. But the brother that I spoke to, he said, let me get with the Grand Sheikh and I'll get back to you, which he did. And he said, somebody will be down there to pick you up. I sat in the bus station another 20 minutes, a half an hour. I didn't have an affairs, I had on regular clothes. And this other brother walked in, he was tall. Bus station crowded. But I saw him when he came in. And he didn't have on affairs and nothing to distinguish him as being Moorish American. But he looked around, looked at me, and came straight at me. You Brother Matheno? I said, Islam, yes I am. He said, come on with me. Took me down to South Philly, introduced me to the Grand Sheikh. Grand Sheikh appointed another brother to take me a block or so away to a townhouse. Now, I didn't know anybody now. It was at night by that time. By the time we got to the townhouse. And he took me upstairs, said, Mo, here's your bedroom. I went in there, went to bed and all. They got me in the morning, and it wasn't long before I had to get back down to the bus station. And what I'm saying to you, Moors, is that's Moorish American. That's Moorish American. Islam, that's Moorish American. Now, I know a lot of brothers they're just Moors. They don't want nothing to do with American. I can understand your feelings. But I'm not letting nobody put me out of my own house. We're more American than anybody else here. And you're going to find that out over time. This is why. See, this is what you got to understand. This is why the attack is so fierce. Because they know who you are and who your forefathers were. And they know you were here. Islam, they know you were American. But you have to step up and be a better person. Islam, you have to step up and be the better person. This is what the prophet is all about. Go back, Moors. If you have to go back, please go back, get your basic education. You don't have to do the history thing. If you do, just tell them whatever the book says and keep it moving. That's why I used to tell my kids when they were going to school. They're in their 30s now, and I used to tell them. They said, "Dad, that's not true." But I said, "Don't even worry about it. I got you." Tell them what they want to hear. Tell them what the book says. That's what they asked you. They didn't ask you what you knew. Tell them what the book says. Keep it moving. You'll see them people no more the rest of your life. It's incumbent upon us. During slavery, they would kill you if you could read or write. That's how important it was to keep you in that state of mind of being inferior and defeated. But if your forefathers were the builders of civilization, and we have proof as recent as the Moorish Empire in Spain, the dominion of Egypt, Islam, so on and so forth. They were all our ancestors. And the prophet says, what your ancient forefathers were, you are today, without doubt or contradiction. And I can make that clear. You have the potential to be, but you have to bring that out. Islam, you have to work to bring that out. You're just not automatically that because you're not doing it. It's in you. Islam, you got to bring it out. Let me just give you one example. In the 60s and 70s, I remember that a lot of Asian people, like Chinese and people like that, they were always portrayed in movies and on television as idiots, morons with thick glasses and who could hardly talk their own language, let alone English, and dumb and inferior. You don't believe me? Go back and look at some of those movies from the 70s and 60s and see how those people were portrayed. And China at that time, and Indochina and Indonesia, those people were extremely poor, extremely poor. But they invested in knowledge. You heard it say information is power. They invested. And over the next couple of decades, they pulled their society forward. Now, when you look at your electronics and everything else, see where it's made at. Those people, China came from out of nowhere, practically, to a leader among the nations. And they did it with knowledge, and they still invest in knowledge. Look around. What do you think they come over here for? They come over here to go to the best schools, best universities possible. When they get that knowledge, even India, you know where they go? Back. They take it back where they came from. This is what it's all about. I know a lot of young Moors are complaining, well, why we don't have any schools? What more? We got one of the greatest universities of science, Islam, spiritual science, metaphysical science, divine knowledge in this country, if not on the planet. But if you have that attitude, not only will you never get in it, you will never see it. It's not about complaining about what's not here. Get out there and make it happen. If it's not there, you put it there. Islam. Now, I'm like I said, I'm going to share what I can as much as I can. Moors, I thought I was done. I thought I was retired. Islam, I did. Well, man, my Father God Allah surprised me. As long as you can help uplift fallen humanity in any way, shape, or form, you're obligated to do it. I don't care if you get it. I'll be just as proud of a Moor if you got a certificate or a GED as I would if you had a doctor's degree. Just as proud. Because it all takes you bringing out that great potential that God Almighty Allah has put within you and stepping forth into the affairs of men. That you actually are what our ancient forefathers were. You begin to demonstrate it. And I'll take you down the road just a little bit. Our ancient ancestors were awesome. These brothers and sisters, back in the 800s, 900s, They actually had lighted streets. Now, it wasn't electric, but they had lighted streets, raised sidewalks. They did have hot and cold running water. They had universities, hospitals. There were more universities of higher learning in Spain than practically anywhere else on the planet at that time, geographically. Islam? They were doctors. They performed surgeries. Lawyers, engineers. When you talk about farming or agriculture, we took agriculture to a level that has almost been unequaled since, and we did not have the technology that they have today. So your ancestors were no slouches. They was awesome. The pyramids were built by our people. Wasn't no European Egyptians. They were built by our people. A lot of great works. So it took a lot more to put our people into bondage, to put us into slavery. It took a lot. But see, now one reason I don't get twisted about slavery, because our ancestors had slaves too for hundreds, if not thousands of years. They always raided the coast of Europe, taking slaves and carrying them into Africa and selling them. And this is why you have the different complexions all over Africa. It's only been the last couple of 100 years that a lot of Europeans moved to North Africa and intermarried and tried to say that they were African, but no. So I'm not twisted over that. It's some places slavery is still practiced in the world. But we have to get beyond that. You may not get over it. Of course, you're not going to forget about it. I believe in what the Jewish people say, never again. Whether you like them or not, they're united and they're determined. You're not going to get us like that again. Islam, it's not about hate. We're united when we see that we have common interests. And our common interest is our survival and the survival of our children. Because there's just too many people that are determined to wipe us out. It's just like that. Every opportunity they get. The Moors, we got to do our work. We got to put in our work. If you want to study, I know a lot of Moors like to study, saying that word, but we got to put in that work, Mo. And that means putting yourself in a position to succeed. Putting yourself in a position, to acquire the tools that are necessary. I tell you, it's that important. And it's not about feeling bad, Mo. Don't feel bad. Because I know people and I've come in contact, and they felt bad because they could hardly read or, difficulty expressing themselves or writing or whatever. I like talking down to earth. That's why I talk like this. It's nothing I've written down. I'm just talking as if I'm talking to my brother or my sister Mo. But it's that important. That important. I don't care if you have to go online or to a local school in the evenings, but go back, get your GED. It's a basic education. And then build from that, continue to grow. I'll tell you how important it is, Morris. And I'm serious. I'll tell you how important it is, how important it was to me. My wife and I, our first child was a daughter. And I began to talk to her as soon as my wife found out she was pregnant. I began to teach her then and talk to her then and instruct her then. Not just, matter of fact, all my kids, all of them. And people in my family, extended family, they got upset with me because I would not let them talk to my kids, with the gaga goo goo stuff. I said, don't talk to them like that. Well, that's how they learn how to form words. No, it's not either. It's not. You start off dumbing them down. And I never talk to her. It's that important. It's that important. As soon as you find out that the sister is conceived, that she's pregnant, you start teaching that child right then. Talking to them about life or telling them who's who or what have you. Islam? That's how important it is. I understand there's confusion and conflict. That's part of the process. It's not a instantaneous thing. You're talking about building a nation, not a group. Islam? So it's going to take some time. It's going to take some work. Islam, we got to be committed. We have in common the great potential of being what our ancient forefathers were or being wiped off the map. Those are our alternatives. You can't have a violent revolution because a lot of people are waiting for that. They're waiting. There was days when, back in the day, they ride around and just kill people, so-called black people. Just kill them. I'm not feeling about them. This is history. And there's some people that would like to do that today. So what we need is a spiritual revolution. Islam? What we need is a psychological and mental revolution. That's what you do. You commit to building, growing. Now, all of attacking each other, we don't have to do that. That's what blacks do. We got to step out of that paradigm and stop acting black. You know, unruly, loud, disobedient, disrespectful to authority. That's being black. The Moors introduced authority more. That's where we got to go. It's that important. I'm not convinced if Asiatic not building according to the prophet's instructions, I'm not convinced that that person is committed to helping anyone.